So this is the scary part. So yes, welcome. I think this is the time of the year where you can be a little scared, and I got a good story for you about scary stuff. So let me just check if everything's there. Are you joined or have you joined? Please let me know. And if you are ready to some scary stuff, then it will be really scary here. So let me get started. I hope you're joining and you can see what's going on. This is welcome. It's almost Halloween, which means we can dress up, get a little scary. And today, I have a good scary story for you. So this is about governance. And you know, as an integration architect or developer, there's really nothing that can scare you. It's not tight deadlines. It's not undocumented systems. It is not really, let's say, undocumented mappings or missing business requirements. This is stuff that we are all used to, stuff that we know we can deal with. There's one thing that we cannot deal with that easily, and thanks for joining. That is the governance. So let me give you a little backstory why I thought this was the scary theme. So earlier this week, I got a mail from a customer that said, hey, we love your system. We got approval from finance. Now the only person or the only place left is IT governance and security. I was like, oh no, it's like, how do we convince them that we got a tool that they can use and everything like that? But that's not what I wanted to share in this video. This is more like, well, it's an important topic. And yeah, how do you do governance? Please share in the comments. I'd like to hear that. So when I started out in my IT career. I started out with IT security and governance, and it was a huge part of this thing about understanding what was going on in your landscape, being able to log in and see who had made which changes, having the full audit trail. And that was of great importance, because then you knew if the audit trail was in order, then you had better confidence in the system. If there was no confidence in the system, you had to do a full evaluation of what was going on with your system. So that added a lot of complexity about what was going on, who was doing what, and stuff like that. So yeah, then it turned in and started with SAP PI, PO, or X, I guess, at that point in time. And it's like, well, just create these documents that describe what you have done and then put it into Solution Manager, the place where you can put all stuff and say you have done it and no one ever find it again. I guess that's also a scary part of this. And then we woke up, or we used it for quite some time, figuring out what to do, what was important in that perspective. And yeah, trying to say, okay, we don't really need to do copy paste of all these different things, and we tried to optimize the documentation, so we only took the most important part. But the key thing is that this still lacked a lot of the key components about why you have actually made a change, who authorized it, what was the reason for this change. And over the years, I've seen a lot of people doing different things about how they could document. Amrath, hi and welcome. How they could govern these things, how they could log what was made. And I've seen a lot of different Excel sheets where people were putting. I've made a change to this message mapping today, linking to some Jira or ServiceNow ticket and say, okay, this is what we're doing for these specific reasons. And that was all good. And then we ended up with having a little more scary stuff about what was going on in this case. And well, I don't know if you've tried some of that. I've also seen people using the file export, using smart names for it. So you know what was going on and who was doing which change. And obviously that makes some parts a little easier because you can see what is actually going on. But at the end of the day, you rely on, for instance, a file export, real name, being able to understand it. And then you always, with the SAP PI, you have manual steps about people going into the system, changing communication channels and stuff like that, as they're supposed to. But that also adds a bit of complexity because you need to add the changes and you need to understand what's going on. And yeah, that's and you need to trust that they do the right thing. Of course, they do that, but I would, well, let's just face it. I may have changed a couple of the communication channels I worked on, so they may have been out of sync with the development because we needed to fix some SSL issue or something else that was needed on that specific agent that was probably not transportable, and that was a bad thing. I should probably have referred from, but that was what it did. So I would assume that there's other people that do something like that. I may not be the only bad person around. So that was, yeah, one thing. So I've always wanted to figure out how we could automate this thing. So I started out, you may have tried my PI message mapping documentation tool, which was, yeah, a PHP application where I created an Excel document and later created a diff report between two Excel report versions. Yeah, thanks for joining me on this special Halloween edition of A Scary Story. I do hope you are not too scared. If you are, just put it in the comments. Yeah, so I created this document to be able to create Excel reports and show you in a message mapping what was changed, who had made, well, not who had made it, but what was changed between two different versions. And then you had something you can show, this is what we're doing. And if we go back to the auditor, I really don't think they care about your code, about your message mapping, because they are all too complex and no one really understands what is going on these things. So yeah, that's kind of the scary thing about this, about what's going on. And then you can also talk about how do we automate these things. So I wanted to get into the part about being able to automate much more than just the testing and those essential things. So obviously those are crucial for creating any kind of development. So hey, Ricardo, thanks for joining. Glad you could join. I hope you are not gonna get too scared today. Otherwise it's almost weekend, so we can take the next day to relax. So yeah, that was, I guess, my vision for Everett, being able to automate these things and being able to take some of the process away from developers and ensure that they did not really have to spend as much time on creating documentation, creating governance models and stuff like that. And being able to say, okay, we did this because of this business reason. So that is what we wanted to cover. And yeah, we're live. So if you have any questions, comments, put them into the chat and I will try to answer them as good as possible. But let's see how it is going. But yeah, fine, you're joined so far. Yeah, so we wanted to get away from this thing about being able to spend a lot of time in Excel document creating something that was never really linked with it, because let's face it, when you are looking at at a PI methods mapping, it is really difficult to understand when this, you can see the history of when it was changed, but not really when it was done and who was doing it. Ryan, thanks, I appreciate it. So we wanted to create something, or I wanted something that could make it a little easier. So let me just show you what we created to make this governance automated, so you don't, as a user, need to spend as much time on it, and that we can create an audit trail that auditors would be able to say, okay, you have actually created this for some specific reason. We can see the JIRA request, we can see who actually authorized it, and then we are good. We know and we trust the system, so it is not important for us to go through all your development, all your changes that are happening, and understanding what's going on. So we have created the same for both PI and for CPI, and now I'll just show you for CPI, because it is a little easier to do things in here. So we have created a change in our object here, and one of the things we can see, hopefully you can see my screen, that should be good, is we have versions up here, and we can see all the different versions that we have of this iFlow, and we can actually see who had made changes to these things. And we can see we actually had a ticket for understanding what was changed with the iFlow at this point in time. We have like a external ID for this object about why this was changed, who did it. And we can also see all the object that has been changed as a part of this. We can look at the transport that have happened and what the success were on these. We can see it was imported, and we can also generate full reports on these things. So, and then the idea is that you can take this report, put it into JIRA, Solman, wherever you are documenting your changes, so everybody knows we did this change and we actually have an understanding on what's going on here. So we can see here all the transport that have happened, the test cases we ran, and that they were successful. Obviously, that's also a good thing to be able to test. We can see all the object versions that were changed as a part of this. And we have information about what was the JIRA ticket. We can open it if we want to, making this process much simpler and much easier for developers to create these different kind of things. Then obviously, well, one of the other things we do have is we can actually see what was changed between two different versions. So let me just take the last two versions here. We have an option to compare with and BPM. We have full visibility, so we can actually see these two boxes were changed. And if we look at the payload, we can see what was changed in the payload. And I think for these, there should not be anything. So nothing was changed on these payloads, so that's all good. But we do have a small change up here, and we can see that it's this still, and it was changed from the expression on this constant was changed to Halloween because of our theme. So we do have full visibility and understanding what's going on in it. And what I just wanted to show you was how simple it is to actually make any modifications to your landscape. So here we have our new lens transport. We can assign it to a ticket. We can say who did it. We can say which landscape we want to transport it on. We can have a JIRA number or whatever ID we want for these things. And now we are good to go. And we have now documentation about what has happened for this. So we can see we have this. And if someone later go back, they can always find our ticket where this was created. We can now just want to start the transport. So obviously we have transport modes. We can see in the transport, and here we can define everything. And that is also the challenge that a lot of face also in PI that you face, that you need to understand why something was changed, being able to, or once you transport something, you need to be able to configure it in that production environment. And that is what this is about. Any questions, comments, put them into the chat. We are live. So I hope you take the opportunity to go through that. And here we can just say this is, change all the parameters on the different systems, so we know why systems were changed or what was configured on the system. And that means that no one actually need to go into your QA system. Once you import it and configure it, it's all handled automatically. So we can just send it to approval. Obviously, you want to approve and ensure that someone is doing governance on your landscape, understanding why they're doing things. And because I am dressed like this, I am able to approve things also. So I guess that's the part about being admin or whatever. And then we can import it. It will run the import, configure it. And the same thing on PI. It will also import communication channels, configure them as you have described, and that way you know everything is going to be a lot simpler, and you will see all the changes that are happening a little simpler. And then you can go back to the issue. You can see all the object that was changed as part of it. Maybe I was a little too fast. So now we can see everything was imported, and we also got the log on the QA objects, what they were. So that means we can, if we go under QA objects, we can see what was changed. And we also have this log information that we can see all the versions of the communication channels, what were these monitors. So we got the full visibility about what was changed in your SAP landscape. So we can see here this value was changed on one system versus the other. So that was a little about what I wanted to cover in this session. So next year, when it's Halloween, this auditor guy that comes and say, hey, I want to check out what's going on, you'll say, hey, sure, come join me and let's have a cup of coffee, and you can see everything that we have done. We have full visibility in everything that happens on our SAP integration systems. So yeah, come spend 15 minutes with me, and then they will be completely lost because they have no clue about what you're doing, but you have full visibility about what's happening. So any questions, comments, put them into the chat. If you're watching this, also remember to hit the like. If you're on YouTube, click the subscribe button so you will get notified when I'm creating new stuff on these things. But yeah, thanks for joining this special episode. Hope it is not too scary. And we got you covered. Any questions? Then I'm still here. Yeah, let's see. Let's see if there's anything I did miss. So we are here in the live room. Cool. And yeah, obviously, if you want to check it out, I guess that's also a part of this, then go to figaf.com/DevOps. Then you can try it. It's there's a free 30-day trial. We can obviously extend it if you want to try it out for a longer period of time, figure out how it works in the organization, and see how easy it is to get started. So one of the other videos I created, there is a guide on how to set up the Git repository, and it takes like 15 minutes to get started, and then you have a full Git repository. You will then be able to get started with these things. Thanks, Ricardo. Thanks for joining. Have a fantastic Halloween if you celebrate that. I need to go down and pick my son up, and he is wearing Halloween costume. So let's see how fun that's gonna be. So yes, thanks for joining. Thanks for taking time to spend this this time with me. And if any questions, comments, put them into the chat or ping me. Thank you. Let's see if there was anything I missed.